Hello, San Antonio, Texas. This is Industry P P-S-A, all things pop culture, all things that are popping off in San Antonio service industry, restaurants, bars, hospitality. And today we've got a stacked show for you. I'm with Chef Kristina Zhao
Hello, everybody.
and my great friend here, Mr. Tyler Thomas,
Hello.
industry professional and as well musician, recording artist, producer, and he just has an album that has released. We're super excited about that. So we'll go into how our hospitality industry flows into inspiring other industries like the music industry. So super
Heck yeah.
excited about that. Well,
Alright.
Kristina, how are you doing today? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. I'm always doing great.
That's awesome. You are. You're always doing great. Tyler, how you doing?
I am eating chicken nuggets as much as possible.
From where? What
Fantastic.
kind?
All of
All of them.
like you
Your
can't.
favorite?
just- it depends on the kind of the breading, but you just when you see chicken nuggets,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
that's I mean essentially if you like something and you're getting a lot of it, then life is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, chicken nuggets are a huge part of, I think, the the American child's diet, but then also the nostalgia that goes with it. You can't go wrong with breaded, fried, wonderful chicken nuggets. We have chicken poppers here, but we do them a little differently, right?
I mean, they're essentially chicken.
It's kind of crazy that chicken nuggets are so associated with being like a kid's thing because breaded chicken has permeated like almost every culture, like historically. I mean, there's like Italian breaded chicken, there's Southern breaded chicken. Like it's kind of a staple, but when you say chicken nuggets, you just think of like little kid food. I guess
Yeah.
because it's nuggets.
Well, there's like adult, like fried chicken,
Tenders.
right?
Tender,
Tenders. Oh, yeah.
which is
There
just
you go. It's
the beauty of
semantics.
the beauty of language.
Mhm.
It's
If
semantics.
you want to be sophisticated, they're tenders.
Tenders versus
Actually, if
nugs.
you want to be sophisticated, be like chicken chaussette.
What if you had tender nugs?
That's on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that would be a Valentine's Day menu thing. Tender nugs for your loves.
There should be like a weed based store like Chiba Hut. They should have tender nugs. You see,
I could see that.
play on words.
Yeah,
Could see
yeah,
that.
lots of different nugs out there. Golden nugs, green nugs, chicken nugs.
If your
Yeah,
boyfriend's a weed dealer, chicken nuggets would be like a great Valentine's Day gift.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, San Antonio, this is Industry Pop, and today we're going to go into some headlines. We jump into headlines. Later, we're going to go into some bigger ticket items. We're going to look at what the National Restaurant Association is talking about for 2025 projections in terms of just sheer volumes, consumer sentiment, and we're going to go over, what are some policy issues that are popping up now. San Antonio does have a mayoral race going on, and some of the candidates are coming out with their platforms for restaurants and bars, which is super exciting because there's a lot to talk about on that front. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that and what it means to San Antonio. What are some of those things that are on most or some of the restaurateurs' mind, especially wherever you're located? Now, I'll tell you, Southtown, they probably have some things that are first and foremost on their agenda versus maybe Stone Oak or the West Side, South Side. But we're going to get into some of that. And of course, we're going to get into Tyler's album that he produced. And also, there were some vocals of yours, right?
Yeah, I did vocals on. Well, I'm credited on 2 of them, but I think I did 5.
Oh.
Heck
But
yeah.
you know,
Did they pay you? What did they pay you in nugs?
in nugs
What
for
kind of
sure.
nugs?
Uh,
Golden ones.
yeah. No, it's interesting. Like we can definitely dive into that, but the way people kind of vie for credit on music projects is really weird. And it's got a lot of history in like what does a music producer actually do, or um kind of like who's selling the album. And it's really interesting. Like people fighting for writing credits is a weird thing. Just like I don't know, we'll get into it.
All
Like
right. All
every
right.
industry has its share of intricacies and guarded doors and secrets, like, you know,
Yeah. Well, it's tough
James
with
Beard Awards and Michelin stars.
Oh,
it's well, very
You
similar.
know?
It's tough
If that's
when recognition is involved, and it's really tough when anything artistic is involved
right.
because typically people who are artistic are not good at business. So, like the business person needs to be there, but then all at the same time, like if you're if you're a business dude and your artist is winning Grammys or something, like of course you're gonna want to be like, well, I was there, I was there, I was in the room when they made that. So like,
right.
and then also if you are a business person, how do you make sure you keep getting paid for every instance of an award or something? It's like, well, I was in the room and I was like, you should say the instead of and like, oh shit, did I write? I wrote that, didn't I? Like that
Right.
chorus wouldn't be the same, So like, and then some artist is like, I guess I'll say the, you know, but
Right.
but yeah, it's really weird. So,
Well,
but yeah,
yeah.
like some songs I'm credited on and some are not. Like, especially having been a musician first and foremost, it's like, do I actually deserve to be like, hey man, I sang one harmony on that song, so like, how far are you gonna get without me? You know?
Yeah. Well, I can already start seeing some parallels with the creative side
Mm-hmm.
to chefs. So that's going to be a very interesting topic. Okay, so let's get into current events in San Antonio. Now, today is Sunday for those that are watching now or watching in the future. Y'all are time traveling into the past where it's Sunday, Sunday Fun Day, and today marked the last day of Ice House Week. I believe the fourth annual Ice House Week, and so that spans uh, a number of different establishments, sides of town, all over San Antonio.
What actually makes something a nice house?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. So, um, what we have here, so the essay current from February 15th to March 2nd, they said people are going to explore San Antonio's favorite ice houses and neighborhood hangouts during the fourth annual Ice House Week. Uh, Drink specials, Texas special beer, and some food. And they go into naming some of them, but I'm going to do a quick search right here. Ice house definition, because I want to know exactly what an ice house is.
Well, and Tyler, you were saying that there's a lot of
Well,
history.
historically, an ice house would be kind of a combination, especially in Texas. It was a big thing on ranches, and slaughterhouses. You before refrigeration was easily available, and this goes along with old fashions and stuff too. But you would go get your ice from, they'd bring it in on trains and it's covered in hay and and then ice houses were typically like where you would keep your meat, and it would just be a wall, like a little shed with kind of two walls, and the walls would be lined with ice with uh, hay and whatever to insulate it on there. So you would go buy your fresh meat from an ice house, and they would also sell ice because refrigeration was not really a easily attainable thing in the past. Um, and so as ice houses got bigger, they would sell other common goods and, like common, uh, like your gas station has your little convenience center there.
Right.
You'd go buy ice, you'd buy meat, and then whatever else you needed, it would all just be in one place. And so that's why some people still will call gas stations, especially in Texas, an ice house.
Hmm.
And so, like, I would assume an ice house, the origin of an ice house being a brewery or a bar would be one that had ice in it.
Right.
However, that definition it seems like
Uh,
very not relevant.
well, I mean, I'm looking at just like the search, and it's very similar to that, if not like you actually articulated and had a more historical reference to it. I don't even need this. I've got you here.
Well, so that's why I'm like, what is Ice House Week? So, what is an ice house in today's terms? It seems like just a kind of a marketing thing, which is fine,
Yeah, I view Ice House as like a beer joint, or maybe even like a liquor. There's some that have liquor, but like primarily like a beer joint, maybe.
Kind of a saloon.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, and a more open, air type feel to it, more laid back. Like I don't think I'm gonna go to an ice house to get
a
um,
meal.
Charles Heidsick, or maybe a
Yeah.
meal, but yeah. So maybe a little more laid back. So to give us a frame of reference of what an ice house is or who's participating in San Antonio. All right, so the establishment's Bar 321. We've got Billy's Ice. We've got Black Whale Pub. We have got Brewster's Ice House, Bruno's, Burgerteca, which is more of like a Mexican margarita, Camp 1604, Chifladas, Cooper's Ice House, Cover 3, The Dakota, El Bujo, Growler Exchange, High Horse, Hills and Dales, like Hills and Dales for sure. I would also put Friendly Spot in there, La Tuna, as well as Ladybird, and more and more and more.
Mm,
Louis. So I guess I kind of understand what an ice house is. If I were going to go to an ice house, I'd go to like the Friendly Spot or Bruno's since they're right there. Hills and Dales. I think a couple years ago, Hills and Dales actually had the most beer sales in San Antonio.
mm,
Like they tracked that,
yeah.
and they had the most. Uh, so so yeah, I got a haircut this week, and it was on Friday, and I played hooky a little bit and went over to the Friendly Spot because I knew it was Ice House week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got uh I got a couple beers, and then, came back for Friday service. No one knew the difference, so it was it was all right. But I celebrated Ice House week this week. Yeah, on Friday. But if I think almost every single neighborhood has one, and they're all over. It's a part of, I think, your neighborhood feel, right? So if you live in a neighborhood, San Antonio basically has
Is this
everything.
like Ice House the American version of a pub?
Yeah,
Or maybe
I would
Texas version of a pub?
I would say that it probably is one of those things where the name is just stuck around because of the historical significance, Texas being such a big rancher state.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like where most places it would have turned into a pub or neighborhood bar, just the term ice house is stuck around. Um,
I saw something extremely fascinating, and it was someone put in a map pubs in Great Britain,
mhm,
and the whole thing is just like
yeah,
hundreds and thousands. There's not one block you can go in England or Wales or anywhere.
They told us that like
Ireland.
it's like a law. Back in the day, it was a law, like a part of
mhm.
creating the neighborhood. You could not, like,
You
you
had to
had
have a
to
pub.
have a pub
You
for
could, yeah, you
every
couldn't
so
incorporate
many.
into township
Yeah,
without a
having.
pub
Mhm.
or like a pub or in a school and
It's
like a
like a
courthouse,
critical component of the
like meeting the requirements
fabric
to
of
be
humanity.
incorporated. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just like, here in San Antonio, you have ice houses everywhere. That's a part of the fabric of neighborhoods. I mean, you've got an HEB, a UPS store, right? You've got a post office, you've got a Chinese joint, you've got a pub, an ice house, Italian pizza, burgers,
6 vape shops.
vape. Oh, yeah.
I mean, back in the day, there were brothels too, right?
Brothels, hotels, inns. Actually, inns are kind of like the ice house of, hospitality, but a different side of it because you would have the pub, the sleeping component,
Well,
the brothels. Maybe I don't know.
inns, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine inns kind of made their way into Texas later than they would have on like the East Coast or up north because still just the nature of being such a big rancher state, it would have been a lot more like boarding houses where like you come stay for a while and you work on the land and you know, if you were traveling through, that's how you would make your money to get to the next place. Or, I mean, you read tons of old stories like was it Little House on the Prairie or something, just these
Oh
kind of
my God.
revolving boarding houses where like there's some people who have been there their entire lives, and there's always just a few people coming and going.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny you said Little House on the Prairie. So we went out to eat
Oh,
before this,
so mean.
and I'm not being mean, but I used to watch Little House on the Prairie just like everyone else, okay? And this woman, this poor woman, she was wearing a Little House on the Prairie dress.
Not mean, but
I mean, it was fine. It looked fine, but I was like, "Hey, Little House on the Prairie," and you mentioned it today. See, there's like
Serendipitous.
serendipitous. All right, y'all. So next year, make it out to the 5th annual Ice House Week. It's a lot of fun. Looks like they have a lot of different places involved. So definitely get in on that. The next event and current events that happened last week, I believe it was the 22nd in February. So we're about 10 days, actually, no, 8 days out.
time is just flying.
Time is flying. Yeah, we live in this very fast paced world.
Where's
We
the
were
speed?
thinking about participating in United We Brunch. Our offerings aren't really brunchy, but it looks like a lot of fun.
The name United We Brunch, is there like a like
The
who's
United
putting that
Colors
on?
of Benetton.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
No.
I don't know, but that's what it. it's a
So
it's a the SA Current. Puts it on.
yeah, so believe the SA Current, and there's another group that they are collaborating with. San Antonio food lovers turned up in force, right? For United We Brunch 2025, an annual celebration of the week's most important and most eye-opening meal. Right? I guess it's because they have coffee. I don't know. Attendees at Sunday's event at the Rocket La Cantera partook in mimosas,
The United.
bubbles. Okay, get this, mimosas and bubbles. So it's like, all right, hey, first they start with the mimosas, and then they're like, no, hold the orange juice.
Yeah.
Just give me the good stuff, right? And cocktails. So that, oh my God, think about that progression. Mimosas, right? You get your vitamin C there. Then you go to bubbles, but then at the end you graduate to the cocktails while sampling delicious brunch bites from SA's dining spots, including Magnolia, Pancake House, Savor, Cover 3, Paramore, 2 Asador, and more. And then they had the best brunch bite, best Bloody Mary.
Who won Best Brunch?
Who won best brunch? I don't know. That this is just the pictures here.
So the United We Brunch in San Antonio benefits the United Way of San Antonio,
Interesting.
which is a nonprofit organization that aims to create a community free of discrimination and racism, which like the United Colors of Benetton, which is a fashion brand,
Mhm.
was a big part of their core
So there's a lot of different
you-
references
United
flowing
Way
through there.
something.
Yeah. United. Yeah. United Way. Well, that's very cool. And so the reason I brought this up, even though we didn't participate in the event, was because, brunch is a huge part of the dining experience. And San Antonio, now they have an event, but I first learned about brunch in Houston.
Mhm.
Okay. Houston, you'd go out and brunch. They had house music DJs, and it would be just like it would be a day party.
Oh yeah.
Unlike, like, oh my gosh. I mean, and then, you would try to get through the day, and, typically it would happen on Sunday for me,
Mhm.
and I would, I'd call it a day. Some people just went all night long, and then they go to the clubs there on Westheimer, and
Yeah.
it was very intense.
It is. Yeah. It is crazy. Just brunch is taken very seriously in some places, but
And every single person, not everyone, but many of our team members literally say brunch is their least favorite. They're like, I hate working brunch. Don't know why, but they hate, everybody hates working brunch, apparently. Apparently.
probably just because of how tied to drinking it is. Just it creates kind of a hectic environment for sure.
Okay.
Especially like one of the staples of brunch is like bottomless mimosas or
It's not allowed
bellinis
anymore,
or
right? Or
in
marketing wise.
I mean not in Texas, no, but I think like the whole the whole thing is just kind of more of a party
Yeah.
vibe in general, you know? It's like brunch with the girls or like and
Brunch
it
with the girls.
okay, so I can't remember where it came from, but brunch was like specifically a marketing thing, and it was popularized in a TV show or a movie. I can't remember which one. But so the whole idea of brunch was like the characters of this show go to brunch. And like whoever thought up the marketing thing then pushed really hard to get it into a movie or a TV show. And that's
Sesame
how
City?
it might have been, but I think it was before that.
Edward Bernays.
But no, so I think it's just a crazy like example of marketing to the extreme. Like there was I don't think there was like a big like TV commercial campaign of like we're doing brunch, like brunch is the new thing. It literally someone thought of it and was like, let's put this in a movie and then like the or a TV show and it did really well and then restaurants around the world were just like brunch, we do brunch. Like we do that too. But so it definitely was a show or movie like Sex in the City where it was like girls go out for brunch, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like the definition of brunch has changed for me throughout the years.
Mhm.
Like especially as a Chinese immigrant learning the language and culture here. When I was a child and went to church with different aunties and uncles, we would go to brunch because the time we got out of church was somewhere between lunch and breakfast. Like let's say 10:30 or 11, where maybe some people still want to have eggs and some people want a burger. And
Yeah.
so I
It
guess the most holistic.
I didn't eat
well,
much during
okay,
brunch,
but
okay?
I understand that.
think
And
about this
then
though. Like if you go back, I would say like 20 to 30 years,
yeah.
you still had like this big prevalence of American diners.
Uh-huh.
So, and 20, 30 years ago, it was pretty common for diners to be breakfast all day, lunch all day, like their full service menu all day. So, like, that wasn't really an issue you would run into after church. You could, go to Denny's and get whatever you want. Or, where I grew up, there was like J&B's or Village Inn, and it was just like full service menu all day. So you could get out after church, and it didn't matter if like the little kids still wanted eggs or cereal, and
Would have it.
yeah, they
Yeah.
would have everything.
Hmm.
But like there's been a huge trend of like because of the way menus are getting more niche and you need to be able to make 30 different menu items with 18 ingredients. So
Right.
you have to change your menu like breakfast has to stop. And also we've gotten a lot better about taking care of like allergens and cross contamination and things, so you can't be having raw eggs on the same thing that steak is going on, like or seafood is going on, so like it's better to just like shut that griddle down, sanitize it, and then have it be lunch and dinner meals now. uh so it kind of made restaurants that were evolving their menus and switching from like breakfast all day to like lunch starts now. They were losing out on a lot of those crowds, so brunch was a brilliant way to bring back in like those same kind of people. um it's just interesting how it all worked. But
Yeah.
it also like when you have those kind of in between meals, like there's always in the service industry your busy times, then it slows down, and there's like breakfast and then it drags, and then there's lunch and then it drags. And so how do you get people in during like the afternoon drag? Well, happy hour,
Yeah.
cheap crap, same stuff, smaller portion, get people in. Brunch is like a really American solution, I think, because like if we were in the UK, tea time is still a thing. Like after, it's between meals and you still could go out for tea and biscuits or something. I hope I'm not being offensive to any British people because I don't know. I've never been, but 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 it
You're in the
definitely.
United States, okay?
But
We literally beat them in a war. All
but
right, that we can say whatever we want.
I don't think we. Well, I mean, we did beat them like a long time. We fought together in a lot more wars than we fought against
Well,
them.
that's true. That's
But
true.
but like still, just you were never gonna get tea time to be a successful like business boom in the US, you know, especially like because of that war 250 years ago. People are
The Tea
still
Party.
people are
The
still
Tea
like
Party was
anti-British to some degree, you know, like so like afternoon tea or something is not going to work, and like brunch is a good solution if you are switching your menu up anyways,
Yeah.
and then putting it into mainstream media and just getting like we go out on Sundays for brunch. It's really interesting how all of that kind of turns into now you go to Houston and brunch is every Sunday, and it's like we're calling in late on Monday morning
Oh my
every week
gosh,
because
I don't know.
it's a party.
It is, yes. That was tough. And if anyone is out there watching this and you know about Royal Oak off of Westheimer next to the McDonald's, Westheimer Montrose, Sundays, it was like just like house music DJs from all over the world. It was very intense. And I'm glad San Antonio isn't like that. But I am also glad that San Antonio, because when I moved here in 2018, there was no brunch. There's like no DJs really. And now it's like a thing. You know, Blush is a great location. We've done brunch there, and there's a lot more. But brunch is definitely a Box Street Social is a great brunch spot. So anyway, United We Brunch, a success. Lots of lots of participation, and it's a cultural phenomenon.
What's the
Cultural phenomenon.
What's the new place that like their entire model is brunch?
Blush.
Wait, no, mimosas and gossip or
Oh,
something?
Chifladas?
No, it
No.
literally the name is like literally something like gossip and mimosas or something. But you
Cheese
go
salsa?
and it's
I don't know.
it's fairly new. It's on 16. It's right by Chiba Hut. But the whole thing is like you go and it's like several small courses. It's like a 3 hour ordeal to go there, and it's like each course is broken up by mimosas or bellinis or something.
Huh.
Like the first time I heard about it, we were like, yeah, that's really interesting.
Expectation?
No, it literally is called something like mimosas and gossip.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
I was telling a friend I
they're
wanted to go
definitely
there.
playing on the girls'
Yeah,
brunch. You know,
but my friend was like, me and my wife
full
just went
belly is
there,
great. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we
and
liked it.
he was like, you have to clear your afternoon because it's a whole brunch experience.
Do you remember brunch?
Yeah.
Once upon a time when I was in Dallas. Oh, what do you want to talk about that?
Oh, everyone, this is Tessa, the Sichuan puppy here. I didn't introduce her. She's wanting to be heard about brunch. She likes to brunch. She's a foodie. If you want to check out what Sichuan Puppy is doing on the foodie scene, follow her on Instagram at Sichuan Puppy. Y'all, speaking of brunch, let's do a cheers. Tyler, thank you for being on the Industry
Oh
Pop
yeah,
podcast with us.
thanks for having me.
It's been, well, let's cheers, but it's been I've been trying to get you on the show for a while. And we finally got on the show. So, moving into other events. Now, you may remember Kristina, Sichuan Puppy, and I from such restaurants as Sichuan House, as well as Dashi. And we're going to be doing some events this month as well. March is going to be a jam-packed month. So we're doing the Uncorked for the Cure Thursday, March 6th, benefiting the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's going to be at the Botanical Gardens, and that is probably one of the nicest events I've ever worked. It is fantastic, and it's for a great cause. So if you can make it out, get tickets. Uncorked for the Cure Thursday this week. We're also doing the Luck Reunion at Willie Nelson's Ranch in Lukenbach, Texas, for the Texas Food and Wine Alliance. Kristina, on March 12th, Kristina's on the board. I'm excited to go see what that ranch looks like. We were supposed to do an event there last year, got rained out. or canceled. And so looking forward to that. And then later in the month, we're going to be hosting an industry networking pop-up with Still Austin Whiskey. And that will be later this month as well. Date to be determined.
I think there's so many really awesome events that happen all the time in San Antonio and Austin, greater Texas area, and so forth. And it's so hard for us to decide like which ones we want to participate in because I mean it has to do with many different factors, like well, primarily being can we do it? Can we juggle the business and do this event? And it like all of a lot of the events, they are for extraordinary causes, and then they also cross promote our restaurant and all the participating restaurants, and I just think it's really cool. The Texas Food and Wine Alliance, that one does something that is super super niche in that they provide micro grant funding to the culinary community
Mhm.
that are specifically more just like your mom and pop shops. And there's really not a lot of organizations out there that are providing that.
Mhm.
And so, that's something that
Yeah,
we jump on.
there's been a couple years where we've done like every single
Gosh.
there. Oh wow, okay. Almost every single event out there, and we just ran ourselves into the ground. You know, they're all very fun, but you have to have some balance with the operation. Now, lots of events. We're moving into the spring, summer season, but we're going to transition here into our guest, Tyler Thomas. So, a service industry veteran, music producer. He just released a new album by God's Only Villain. The album's name is Good for Nothing, with a track featuring Lil Wayne. All right,
That's
Tyler,
trip.
tell us about your release. Tell us about the album. Tell us about, let's start with you. Then let's go into the album and what has inspired you to jump into this new vertical, this new industry, right? I know you have a background in music. Tell us about yourself.
So getting into music production was kind of weird. I used to be a studio drummer long ago. Um and I was in Paducah, Kentucky doing some drums at a studio out there. And while I was there, uh GOV, he used to go by Governor. Um he was recording his first album, so he was kind of in the same studio as me, different room, but and we talked for a while I was out there, and uh I'm pretty sure I was recording some of my own music, but also I was doing drums for one of those, those albums that are like Pump Goes Pop.
Yes.
So
Love those.
this band, uh like an emo band, Hit the Lights.
Since you've been gone.
So this band Hit the Lights was doing uh Jealous by Nick Jonas, but their drummer, like his wife was giving birth or something. So I just kind of filled in for the drums on that, and started talking to Gov while I was there, and really we didn't talk much outside of like
Gov
every
is God Only's villain.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
GOV, God's Only Villain.
God's Only Villain.
We kept up, and then last year in January, he randomly hit me up and he was like, I'm working on my third album and I've sent it to a few rap producers, and it just kind of sounds the same. Like a lot of hip hop is sounding samey right now. And so he asked if I would be willing to try a couple songs. And I guess he liked it. I liked doing it. It was very different for me. I was like, dude, I don't know anything about hip hop. And he was like, that's kind of what I'm going for. Um, so and then he totally buried the lead. Like I had already agreed to produce the whole album for him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, plus like Lil Wayne's on this one song," and I really did not believe him because like he's very talented, he's good, but he's obviously no one knows who GOV is at this point. He's still up and coming.
God's Only Villain.
So I was just like, all right, let's hear that Lil Wayne song.
Yeah.
And
Let's hear Lil Wayne.
yeah, he played it for me, and I was like, Jesus, that is Lil Wayne for sure. So it was really cool. Very different. That whole song, like Lil Wayne sent over his verse with a beat on it, and I was just like, this beat sucks. Like
Okay.
like
Come on, Lil Wayne.
I don't know which one of us is gonna be the one to tell Lil Wayne that this beat sucks. But so it was crazy. Like that dude has such a big business empire, you know.
Right.
It took like a month and a half to finally get the okay to use a different beat. Like at the very beginning of the process, it was like going through a dude who'd go through a dude who would finally talk to Lil Wayne, and then it would have to go back through. And like they were planning Little Louisiana Fest at the same time, so like they were busy as heck anyways, and just like we every time we made a demand or a request, we were just like, that's it, he's just ghosting us, like we're never gonna hear back from him again. And it would just be like randomly at 3 in the morning we'd get an email and he's like, yeah, that's dope. Just like so I don't know.
How did that even happen? Like, how
I
did
don't
like the beginning of just like
networking, you know,
okay,
just like when I met God's Only Villain, he was opening up for Kevin Gates, who was on his
okay,
I Don't Get Tired tour, and like that was cool. Got to like see the whole gearing up for that, and
gotcha.
actually that song has just like a funny place in my heart now, just from hearing it a billion times. Like I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. Which is like all of us when we were in the studio, all of us are like, we haven't slept in 3 days. And
It's
someone's
really
just like,
hard.
I don't get tired. It's like, man, yeah. But but yeah, no, so the whole thing was pretty wild. And then we got to work with a few other artists. Actually, we recorded something like 30 plus songs for the album.
Wow.
And there's a couple other features with really big names too that I don't know if I can say on the air that got cut from the record. Um which was really funny. We spent so much time on this that at the end, Gov came down. We were going through the mastering process, and I was like, "All right, man. So which ones are we cutting from the album?" And he was just like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You put albums out before. You know you can't put like everything out. It
Right.
just he had worked on everything in such a cohesive, like it was all
It's like
telling one story. Just
10 to 13,
his
maybe
typical,
17 at
we still
most.
ended up with 17.
Okay.
But which is still insanely long for a hip, especially because some of the song, like the Little Wayne song, is 5+ minutes long, you know.
Right.
Um, and there's a few other songs that are that long on it. But he was like, "What do you mean we can't put them all out?" And I sat him down and showed him like the full album, and I was like, "Dude, this is almost 5 hours long." Like he's like, I know they're all really good songs, but like, do you want people to hear the last one? He's like, yeah, it's the Wayne track. And I was like, no one is gonna get to the
The Wayne
20th
track.
song.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna give up. It'll be 3 years before anyone's like, yo, did you hear that song you did with Lil Wayne? And he was like, well, I don't know which ones to cut. So that was like 2 or 3 days of just like, wait, no. Yeah, I guess that one. Wait, no, I really want that one back on there. And like, it was really fun. I don't know, like typically every album I've worked on in the past, you know, you'll record demos of all these songs, and then by the time you get to full production, it's you already have it narrowed down to like 7 to 10 that you really want to put out.
Right.
And I just we did this so remotely, like none of the artists were in the same state. There were a few times where we got to meet up and work on things, but so like a lot of the tracks were just getting sent to me and I'd be working on them. So like that early on, we had no idea which ones were going to be sticking on the album, and or you know, so I was just finishing all of them. And so by the time all of them were done, he was like, why they all sound so good, like, you know, and it fits thematically. And it really was just like, dude, this is 5 hours long.
Yeah.
You have to cut something off here.
Yeah.
But
That's very personal though
mhm,
for him, especially telling his story right? To cut something out. And so then to bridge that
Mm,
and to boil it down to something that still tells a story, maybe not as in depth as he
well,
would have
yeah,
liked it, right?
it's like you know, watching the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
No one watches the 12 hours of the whole thing the first time. You know, like you've never heard of Lord of the Rings before, and you're like, all right, half a day, let's just sit here and watch this
Oh
movie.
my God.
Once you're into it, then maybe you're like, we should check out the extended editions. Yeah.
Right.
And then if you liked it that much, maybe you'll be like, I don't know how I ever watched it without all
Watch the outtakes. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
So people
Oh, they still movie theaters will still like do
people
all
have
three
watch
in a row.
parties. Like
That me
Yeah.
and my wife, one of our first full days hanging out, as I was like, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Me
Like,
too.
and she was like, "Are you gonna make me watch all of them?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "The extended editions," and she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "I just to be honest, like I have several Lord of the Rings tattoos, you know." I was like, "Really, if this doesn't resonate with you, we're probably just not gonna go in the long run." And
fair.
it
What? Oh my God.
did you just drink out of Tessa's water?
Well,
Man, you need to edit that like right after I say something funny, she just spits the drink out.
that's how I knew she was the one, Tyler. All right, that's how I knew she was the one. We just cleaned this bar.
Cut it so like right after I'm like I told her our first date.
Well, this is live. We're not cutting anything out.
That's so funny.
While she's recovering, continue, sir. Continue.
All right, so
Lord of the Rings.
well,
She could not like if yeah. No, I
The bar.
so anyways, the whole production side of the album was interesting. Typically, I've always been in the studio with whoever is working on the album, right? It's crazy that like internet is fast enough you can literally send multiple gigabyte files worth of music tracks over and there was a lot of working on this album in isolation for everybody, which I feel like is totally just a 2015 on thing. Um like
like like you're in a room by yourself.
yeah, yeah, like most of this album was me in a room by myself and
Well,
like
that's
you can be on the phone or emailing or texting or FaceTiming about what's going on, but at the end of the day like
yeah, my creative process like used to be like that. Like when I was writing and creating stuff for the oil and gas industry. Now I wish I could get those solitary moments
mhm.
to like just focus in a chamber because now it's like, all right, I'm trying to like do stuff for an event and I got like things coming at me. I got, hey, you got this
Well,
toilet's
I mean,
leaking, or
that's
hey, this customer, it's
that's a little different because that's stuff that's like not even related to what you're working on.
well, yeah, so it's
Which,
hard to focus on like a
yeah,
singular like focal point.
I mean, like for even for making music, like you'd have everyone in the studio, but everyone would be working on the same thing. And it might get a little overwhelming because everyone's like, well, no, you should try this, or like this sounds better. And like when I was way younger, you know, like the amount of space you had on your hard drive or tape or whatever you were recording on was very limited. So it was
Right.
like you need to nail it out before you're gonna put it down. Whereas now you can just be like, what if we added a falugal? And you're just like, all right, because
Let's
like
try it.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
What's a political?
It's some weird horn, I think. It might not even be anything. It might be from a Dr. Seuss book, but
A
if
falugal.
you could
It
try
sounds
it.
like something from Brunch or
I
something.
well, I know there's a flugel horn.
They just had one.
I think it's
She
like
just had
similar.
a falugal event
Yeah,
here.
maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I think there's a flugel horn. It's like similar to a French horn, maybe. kind of in that same kind of, but regardless, the point is like it used to be like let's work things out and figure it out. Or if you were writing songs by yourself, it was kind of like how do I figure something out? That's where like composition was a very, very niche career back in the day
Yeah.
because like how could you be exposed to so much music that you could write something down and be able to imagine it in your head accurately? Like everyone is like, "Oh, I just thought of a song idea." Even if you've never played an instrument before, you're like, "Oh, well that would be a fun jingle," you know? But how do you actually take that from your brain and put it onto paper? Years and years of training, ear training, and whereas now you can just be like record.
Do you think chefs, like, so in the chef creative process, do you think that like that's the same way? Like,
Well, yeah, access to your ingredients is easier than it's ever been. And in a lot of, I mean, maybe in very specific things, some stuff is more expensive, but at the same time, like, can you think of another spot in history where like anyone anywhere on the planet could have caviar shipped to them overnight
yeah,
at a reasonable price, you know?
yeah.
So like
I think
the
we're a prime example of that. Like here, we've got two Sichuan Chinese restaurants, and we're getting these like
actual
these
Chinese
yeah,
ingredients.
these ingredients from Sichuan, these ingredients here to provide it in San Antonio.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
unbelievable, you
and enough
know?
enough so that you could be like, well, let's try a new dish this month and order a small amount of them.
Right.
Previously, if the only affordable way to get an ingredient you couldn't easily get would to be order it in
Buy in
bulk.
bulk. Yeah.
But now you can literally be like, "Oh, man, what if we made some like Chinese infusion with kangaroo meat? You could just have kangaroo shipped from Australia overnight, and it would not be crazy expensive.
They eat kangaroos?
Oh yeah, kangaroos are like an invasive species. Like it's
I've seen
safe.
them.
Same way in some areas you like
That's
can
important.
get credits from the government, like small cash amounts for like
Yeah.
hunting
They're like
coyotes or
feral
something.
hogs, but
Yeah.
they'll kick you. They'll fight you.
Oh,
They'll literally like
no, kangaroos like year round you can hunt
they
them.
will like square you up
It's
and
really good. Have you ever
go.
tried it? You've never
I've
tried kangaroo
never
meat?
tried kangaroo, but I've seen the videos. They will square you up
Oh yeah.
and they will box you.
Oh yeah.
They will, but the ones I've seen, it's like, these Aussies are really tough. So they're getting kicked and stuff, or like they're like side swiping the kick and they're punching the kangaroo in the face.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, and then the kangaroo's like, okay, this guy, I don't want to mess with him. Then it hops
You're
away.
you're laughing, but
He's
keep
laughing
in
at me.
keep in mind Australia lost a war to the emus once. There was the emu wars of Australia. So like that's just a crazy continent where like the people of Australia literally have to fight off animals
Yeah,
for their land. But yeah, you can hunt kangaroos all year round. I don't I don't know how easy they are to domesticate, so they're not really like a farmed animal, but they're just everywhere.
right.
And I think I
We're
think
trying to
one of the
domesticate this one right here. She's like growling at Kristina. What is going on? Well, you drank her water. That's
yeah,
what's going on, okay? She's a little mad about that, Kristina.
I think she's laughing at it.
She's like,
She's
what the
laughing
hell
at me.
is going on here?
but yeah, anyway, the ease of access to ingredients makes it so. I mean, like I just at home sometimes I will buy just ridiculous ingredients
Yeah.
just to be like, can I make something fun out of this? Um, and
Well, I didn't want to derail it, but I think that there's definitely a correlation with, what's going on in music production and like the artist creative process and like a chef, right?
yeah,
And they're taking different elements, right? And especially like you're saying, today you have access to all of these ingredients. They're taking them and they're composing them just like a song, but on a plate. So
what?
it's like a record, right? But on that circular composition, it's not a song, it's actually a composed dish.
I think you can even get a little bit deeper than that.
It's for
Um,
consumption, right?
well,
For consumption, and then you just gotta put it out there and see if people like it or not.
hold
And
on.
sometimes
I think you can get a little bit deeper here in this analogy. And like most most songwriters or movie makers or like the most important thing is capturing a feeling, right? Like lyrics are a very important part to a song, but the most important part of a song is like think about the most iconic songs you've ever heard. Like the first time you heard it, that like made your ears perk up and you're like this says something to me. You
Right.
know, like the first time you heard Back in Black by AC/DC, like those dudes are badass. And like like the feeling like they convey the feeling of being a badass in that
Absolutely.
song. And
Yeah.
so like if you were a songwriter and you know like you're excited about something, you feel cool about something, like how do you capture the badassness of Back in Black
Or
and
like
put it into a song?
Phil Collins. Dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun
I mean
dun dun
that
dun
one of
dun
the
dun.
most iconic drum fill in the world.
Just
But
his drums made me feel it. Yeah.
but
It was like
so
thunder.
connecting to food, like food is it's very much tied to your olfactory senses, and so food evokes memory. Like um everyone has like grandma used to make or
Yeah.
home recipe or like so like as a chef coming, like if you are a chef and you're working in a restaurant, like how do you evoke that, like that feeling of like this reminds me of my grandma's house, this reminds me of safe, or like you know I had this on my wedding night. Like how do you bring back those emotions? It's the same thing, like the smell of a dish or the texture or the flavor, all of it. Like you know the night you graduated high school, like what can bring you back to that emotion? And that really is the artistry in cooking, I think, which is why they call it culinary arts.
Right.
Like just like every other industry, there's music, there's just like mills of country music and pop music. Like there dude, you go to Nashville, there are dudes who literally go to work in shirt and ties, and their whole job is just like trying to come up with fucking country songs for Blake Shelton to sing.
Oh
You
my
know what I mean?
gosh.
Like,
Well, then, they have to have some reference to beer. They
well,
gotta,
that
I mean, I'm like,
it's an actual marketing industry.
I
Like, think
know,
about
I
this. Like
know. It's,
health in that too,
every
right?
Florida
There,
Georgia Line song. Do you remember them?
yes,
That
mhm.
Fireball whiskey, like every single song, like gassing up the Chevy, like everything was product placement for them. Which you know, if you are a musician and you want to just be rich and famous and like you're not really in it for the artistry,
right.
Mhm.
who cares? Like sell yourself. Like if you are there to sell out, sell out. Like
It
but
it reminds me of that skit in Wayne's World
oh yeah.
where they finally got their TV gig, and then the agent, right, the suit comes over and is like, we're gonna do some product placement, and Wayne is like, well, no, we're never gonna sell out, while he's eating Doritos.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Garth, and he's in like the
Reebok.
Reebok
Yeah.
outfit, and he's like doing his John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I just don't know why we had to sell out, man.
Yeah.
That's like,
You
but
know
that's
that
part of the music industry. That's also part of the culinary industry as well.
oh absolutely. Like look at Ramsey, man. Gordon Ramsay is like, I am sure I've never eaten at one of his restaurants, first and foremost, just because I wouldn't want to pay for it. But I'm sure he's an incredible chef. Absolutely. But that dude, he's not really a chef because his brand is critiquing. He's more of a food critic than he is a chef.
I would argue different though.
Well, he might actually be a great chef, but
Yeah,
his brand is his TV shows.
but he's
He's
worked a long time to hone those
That
skills.
is
So
true.
he's a chef. So, but I do to your point though, like, and to what you're saying, yes,
Florida
we
Georgia
know
Line
we
dude
can't
started playing
like
guitar when he was like a year and a half years old.
when you decide that you're gonna choose your art as your bread making source
Hmm.
of income, you are faced with a lot of decisions because you have to, I don't know, like well, not that I don't know, but um it's tied into a monetary
That's true,
transaction.
but
Yeah.
And so just because my favorite dish is spicy savory lobster, I can't put it on the menu because it's not sustainable, because people cannot, and so that even though it's not the same reasons, there's different like factors into what we're putting out as
absolutely. But
yeah.
I'm saying the difference here is your Florida Georgia Line or your Kurt Cobain. Or even like I'd even go Post Malone because that dude is totally sold into the whole country thing, but also he has been the one dictating what he does with it.
Mhm.
Versus like
I
some of
never
the people.
realized he had such a good voice.
Oh, that dude. Well,
I never realized I never followed him until like this year when like I was at Sichuan House and the team was playing like a
mhm.
Post Malone station. I'm like
And you felt like you were running in circles.
this guy has a voice of a songbird. My gosh.
But
Like I
he
never even thought like I
did
never
you
even listened
did you
to
watch any of the stuff he put out during COVID?
him. No, no.
He was doing like live streams from his house in Park City at the time. And it's crazy. He covered
Utah.
yeah, he lives in Utah. Um
Is he from Utah?
no, actually I'm pretty sure he's
He's
from
from
around here.
Texas. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was from Oklahoma.
He might have been born there, but he came up like his first like years as a musician were in Texas, as far as I'm aware. I could be totally wrong, but he does live in Utah now. But during COVID, he was doing like he covered the entirety of Nevermind by Nirvana, live streamed like all live
Didn't
instruments.
he just do a duet with them?
Um, he might have
Town is Grapevine, Texas.
yeah.
Grapevine,
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay. Well, y'all, I want to jump into some other things. I want to keep it close to an hour.
Mm.
Tyler, if you could just give us some closing comments on the music industry and, um, what to expect. Are you going to continue to do this into the future?
Yeah,
Are we going to see you on Warp Tour?
man.
Now, you wait,
Warped Tour was the dream when I was in high school.
yeah.
And then when I started playing shows, uh, like the first two times I played a festival outside in the summer, I was like, I would never do Warped Tour. Like, you'd have to give me so much money. It's just like going there as a fan when you're in like high school and stuff is, it's like it's worth all the heat and everything because like just the vibe of it.
Yeah.
But performing like in the hot heat, especially if anyone who doesn't know, my main instrument is drumming. Man,
Da-dun, 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 da-dun.
just the like, yeah, just the like baby powder I'd have to put on my legs because just chafing from doing this
Yeah.
for hours in the sun and just like,
With tight pants on.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
Warp Tour,
well,
guys.
and
It's Warp Tour.
marketability and all that. Like, it's really funny. Certain kinds of bands have to wear certain things when they get on stage, and it like because you're a brand. That's all you're selling is a
Right.
brand, and it like music is not that different from other music. There's only 12 notes. I mean, there's like all the combinations you can make with those, but like in its heart, music is a pretty just universal thing. That's why you can have like jazz and R&B and rock all on one album, and like um it really is just like your brand of it that you're selling, which is why you kind of see a lot of like solo artists who are just very like look at DJ Khaled. That dude is not really much of a producer or a musician at all, but that dude can run a brand. Like his
Right.
whole thing is just a brand. And versus like versus a producer like Rick Rubin who tries his best to not even let anyone know that he was a part of the album.
Yeah.
But it's for the most part when you're up and going, your brand is your biggest thing you have to sell. 'Cause you could Rebecca Black and put out Friday, and then like I just found out
What happened to her?
she's putting out like a documentary or something.
Jeez.
Well, no, great for her, but like her problem was her brand because
Tessa, let us know how you feel here.
She loves that song too. But no, so like that song apparently was it was like not supposed to be serious. It was kind of this small production company. Like
Great.
I almost want to say I heard it was like a birthday present. Like her parents thought,
Great. It was a
y-
passion project. They
well,
had the
but she was
and
it
like
was not supposed to be big. It
yeah.
was like she went into this small local studio that was
Huh.
uh like small amount of money. We'll put a song together for you and release it, and then just it
Right.
was the right kind of catchy and whatever,
It just
and blew up. And so
How does this song go?
I don't remember.
Friday, gotta get down on
Oh
Friday.
yeah, that's right.
Like uh
Sounds like
like
I mean, it was
like a
better.
cereal jingle.
It was better.
yeah, it just
It was better than Friday night on the American Idol
yeah,
audition. If you know what I'm talking about,
yeah.
it's Friday night because it's
Oh,
Friday. You do know.
yeah.
But it just turned in like
I've been working all week
yeah.
and I cannot wait until it's Friday nights. It's Friday nights. Here I am and it's Friday
It was
and
like
now I'm ready
Yeah.
because it's Friday nights. Friday nights.
I just like I mean, it's just all like
But in that example, it's a brand just going horrifically wrong because she wasn't setting up a brand. The song was never supposed to be huge. It just caught, and then like the other side of that is the way social media is and just negativity on the internet. Like what should have been this glow up for a random girl who was kind of good at singing and like just turned into years and years of just people hating on her. Like what a shitty song, what a stupid idea, like what a meme worthy video, and just like
I can't stand
she's
that, man.
still if you look up
okay.
her music on Spotify, like she's still putting out records and like just
Good for
she's
her.
never
Yeah.
she's great, but like she's never going to overcome what happened by accident. And like it's like it's crazy. It's crazy to me that that girl had enough talent for a dumb song to go viral, and it just ruined her self-esteem. And then you have girls like fucking Tua, who just
Oh my
blew up
gosh.
into over Tua. Like that girl is rich as hell and like gonna do fine for the rest of her life. But Rebecca Black, a small like teenage girl who had talent and just accidentally got famous, and now just years of therapy and
Mm.
Yeah.
she's got to be an incredibly strong woman to like still be putting out music, and because she was just a laughing stock for no reason.
Yeah, people can be so critical and we see it as well in, the restaurant side of things
It
and
makes it hard to put yourself out there.
absolutely. Yeah. We've well, I've been putting myself out there a little more and on social media but I don't really care. You
Yeah.
know. I mean, uh but it's also funny and but on point, tactful, I think. But I think if you're talking about, you know, like chefs and restaurateurs, entrepreneurs, bar owners, bartenders, creatives in the industry, not everyone's going to be perfect. And in fact, everyone is on their own journey. And if we're going to be a community, if we're going to, promote people, if we're going to like say, hey, we're going to promote our restaurant and bar community, then I think there does need to be some like leniency. And it's not like let's say you open a place and it didn't work out. That doesn't mean that's the end. And some people can be really critical of that. But actually that person's journey is like not that timeline. It's a longer timeline. And and so I do see a lot of people being critical. Um and I think it's
But
a
it's easier said than done, right?
yeah.
You want to know? I definitely I'm gonna like compliment you here because I've been thinking about this since you first asked me to come on the podcast, and one of the things you guys do very very well is your focus on community, and like you guys are definitely a mom and pop small organization, but you throw your name out there to everyone in very opening and very open and welcoming to everyone that like wants to be part of your community, which is how we got to know each other so well. Um, and it's something that is very lacking, like in the world at large right now. Dashi and Sichuan House definitely have you guys' personality all over it. And it is it's like these little enclaves of personality are harder and harder to find, which like especially in San Antonio, it's like it's the biggest small town is a slogan that everyone who's lived here knows, right? And it's very sad to me because it's slipping away a ton. Like all of these local places are just kind of copying what the other successful places are doing around here. Like um even just the little bars and restaurants in the area 6 years ago, there was personality in every single one of them. Every single one of them had a different vibe when you walked in, and you knew the owners, and like you were part of that little like friend group, and it was kind of stretching out and reaching across the street, and like everyone at that place knows everyone at this place because right, but everywhere is sort of just kind of turning into it's like great metaphor. It's like the home flipping business. Like a few people got really good at it and San Antonio blew up with this industry, right? And it used to be like I mean, I used to do that. And like you could tell by going into a fix and flip house, like I could be like, "Oh man, my boy Sean did this house. Did you buy this house from a guy named Sean?" And they'd be like, "How did you know that?" And it's like, I know what colors he likes. But now, if you go in, every single house is the gray walls, the white square floorboards, the gray floors. Everything is cookie cutter. Like you take pictures of it, and it's like, is that a house or did you cut that out of IKEA magazine?
Right.
And just like losing personality, and it's so great to come into places like this that are still like very full of it. And I do happen to know you guys pretty well. I've like seen you mess up and like seen where you've been very successful and like watch you grow, but the one thing you guys have never done is just been like, well, shit, this doesn't work anymore, let's just do what they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. I'm like really proud of you guys. It's one of the reasons I love being involved in anything you guys have to do. It is really I mean, obviously, from a music and artistic standpoint, that's something that I believe is very important to see. And I love the way you guys reach out to the community around you because more of that should be going on. Like, like you guys keep a very huge amount of your personalities in what you do. That being up in your restaurant all day is super cool. Like, no, like, think of any other really successful restaurant in the area that has just cutouts. You know what I mean? Like, the the decorations in here are very you guys. It is really cool to see. I didn't mean to just like
Well,
fillet you for 5 minutes,
Appreciate it.
but like also part of what you
Please
guys
fillet
do
me
here
some more if that's what that means. Need
part of
it.
what you guys do here is like trying to build the whole community up in general, and you're doing it from like your pulpit. But like the first 15 minutes of this was just calling out other restaurants for doing a good job, and like that's so cool. um Anyone who watches this, you should do more of what these guys do.
well, Tyler, it's been a wild journey, and we like just take our events for example. We get like the most joy in like collaborating with people, and but this is like our home, and um, when anyone comes in, we want them to feel like we want to feel, like energetically, like this
The
is
flavor,
yeah, the flavor,
the memory.
the memory, the energy, this is where we spend a lot of our time. And so like when it comes to community, we like resonate on high frequency vibes, um, just like being creative, close, smiling, saying hello, being happy. Like you know, a lot of times that's lost on people in today's society. So, you know, it's great to be able to collaborate. We've collaborated on events, and so thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
No, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna say where I used to work. People will know if they know, but I don't want to give them any dabs now. Um, through the people you met, I don't know if you kept up with Chilled Mag, but they put us in their top 100 dive bars.
Really?
And obviously,
Awesome.
um, but
Haven't even made it in there.
well, it was the night you
That's so cool.
That's
the
awesome.
night you introduced me to Chilled Mag's rep,
Yeah.
and we stayed there and like shut the place down.
Hell
And,
yeah.
I don't think there was a lot of other competition, but I kind of took your lead and just like kept pushing it and like, hey, what's going on with this? And
Sure.
so she came back out and like,
Really?
and yeah, and like had a happy hour at our bar, and never got really much attention, but I was just like, man, like this is the effect y'all have on, you know,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh,
But
cool.
anyways, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, Tyler, this has been a pleasure. We have a couple more things to go
Yeah,
through,
let's get
and
it.
then we're gonna close it out. I think we've been going over an hour, but this has been fascinating. You've been an amazing guest, lots of depth, and
I just want to remind you that dashi means grand master, and that has a lot of depth to that. It's not just, I've been doing this for a really long time or anything like that. It is a culmination of artists, and we have we have like the I don't know what the word I'm looking for it is, but just like the consistency and the dedication to make the art great. But it's also a space to be creative, to relax, to unleash, to bounce ideas, to create more,
right.
to cultivate
I'm pretty
lots
sure
of.
in Japanese the term for that is Bushido, but I don't know what
Well,
the
we're not
Chinese.
Japanese.
Oh, I don't know what the Chinese term
So
for it is, but I know there is one.
word. I mean, I chose so when in the namesake of the restaurant, I thought about this for a very, very long time. It's very interesting because in other just upscale menus, if you will, they don't even bother to translate the menu item.
Mm-hmm.
They just put it in their language. Well, I tried that. It doesn't work for Chinese food. Like,
I have a great example of this in a different language,
it
but
just doesn't, right?
okay, okay. So I even mentioned chicken chaussette earlier. It's a French chicken dish, and
Yeah,
it's chicken with the skin on it,
yeah,
essentially. But like the actual word chaussette in French
yeah,
is socks.
yeah.
But they never explain what it is on English menus. They just say chicken chaussette.
Mhm.
Every time I see it on a menu, I'm just like, I'll have the chicken socks, please.
Right?
But yeah, it's like
Yeah.
transcribing it into another language is very difficult.
I think is well, I think now as we've become more globally connected through technology, it is getting easier and easier because there's definitely items on the menu and just like I don't want to bother the server because I work in a restaurant too. And so I know they're busy and I'm just gonna pull out my phone and Google the shit, right? Just like, what is this on
Oh
the
yeah,
menu?
yeah, yeah.
But when we started the restaurant, like in 2015, we not put like Mao Wang, just like MAOXUEWANG on the menu and expect people to order it.
What's Malksu?
Mao Wang. It's like a version of, like we don't have that on menu because it just anyways. It's
I mean,
like a
I was just
meat
joking.
dish.
Most people don't know that in Chinese, X is
Oh yes.
sh.
I also thought about hosting little like, so many reels, right? How you pronounce things. I can do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
In your spare time.
Well, y'all, talking about the restaurants, we're gonna go into some headlines, and so the SA Current had the best of. All right, and so just wanted to do a shout out for best Chinese restaurant.
Do we
Sichuan House got second. Okay, we got second, and let's see here. There's a lot of like if you haven't looked at these lists, you really need to take a look at the list. There's some great names on here. I think they got
And
a lot of it right.
uh-huh.
The best Chinese food in San Antonio, and we've got Hung Fong Chinese restaurant at number 1,
Uh-huh.
Sichuan House at number 2, and then Ding Hao Chinese restaurant at number 3.
That's I'm
Those,
have
those,
a lot of emotions going on, but lots of gratitude because like Hong Fong and Ding Hao are decades of just like legacy and history in San Antonio. And I feel like I'm so honored to have our restaurant be up there with those three very, very formidable just community staples. They've been around for a really long time. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. Just wanted to, in terms of headlines, go on SA Current. They've got an amazing list of restaurants, and it looks like they got a lot of these right. Um,
Yeah.
Man,
They're consistent. Yeah.
date night,
What do we have?
Paisanos, Bliss,
Uh-huh.
Tokyo Cowboy. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Uh-huh.
Bliss.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Paisanos up there, best donuts,
Should
enchiladas.
have gotten a Michelin star.
Well,
Like,
I did see an article that it did go over potential Michelin star restaurants for 2025, which is going to be announced on November 11th.
I see.
That's when they have the award ceremony. So,
Okay.
if you get an invitation to go to Houston or wherever they're having these, then you're probably going to win something from the Michelin guy.
Very cool.
But if you don't, then you did not.
I see.
Okay, just simple as that.
I see.
They probably will. You probably won't even forget about it because you're so busy in your operation. You won't even know what's going on, and then the day after you're gonna be like, "Oh, we didn't win. Okay, well, all right, whatever." uh,
Well, we're definitely not getting
so
a nod now.
I well, we haven't been critical of Michelin, but we have been talking about the the aspects of it where it is, a investment made. All right, I'm going to be very political here. It's an investment made
On
by
cities, but
the
not
marketing
necessarily.
arms
No,
of
it's true.
cities
It's
Yeah.
around
it's
Texas.
ironic. It's ironic we're talking about this on Oscar night, but
Mhm.
it's the
Is it
same
Oscar
thing. Yeah,
tonight?
I believe so.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I speaking of that and politically, I'd be surprised if the Brutalist didn't win like a ton of awards just because all the politics boxes. Um,
Yeah.
but like you can read interviews with movie makers and actors, and like you have to campaign for those awards. Like no one, the Oscars board is not actually just like watching movies and being like, that's the best movie I've seen all year. Like it's like any other electorate race. Like you have to campaign for it. There's funding that goes into it. It's a marketing thing. Like
Yeah.
if the Michelin board came to your restaurant and like scoped it out, that's crazy. But if you find out they did that and you're not constantly like following up and like trying to push that they were there, and like their name carries weight because people put weight behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same as the Oscars. So like if they're I don't know, I kind of see it as like Leo DiCaprio didn't get an Oscar for so long until he really wanted one, right? But like was he actually really trying to get one, or because it even if he wasn't personally saying it, there was definitely like a lot of media talking about like why didn't Leo get it? Like, like there's definitely especially I've learned this in the music industry. There is money behind every review
Well, that's
that you
exactly what we're
hear.
talking about.
There's money behind every ad placement. There's money behind
Yep.
every time someone brings you up in like a higher end podcast or like a TV commercial or something. There's money behind all of that. I will say, like in on Good for Nothing, there was one of the singles we were putting out, and Spotify really liked it, and so they gave us $20,000 in free advertising. It was gone in 4 days.
Mm.
20 grand in marketing. and that was like it was on banners when people opened the app. If they had the free version with ads, it would be 30 seconds of the song would play during that, but it lasted for 4 days. $20,000. There's money behind all of this stuff. Like
Yeah.
when a friend of mine a long time ago got signed to a major okay, good examples. Two friends of mine got signed to major record labels, and one of them, the total business loan they got from the label, 3/4 of it was for marketing, 1/4 was to make the album. The other one never even got the 3/4 because they recorded the album and the label decided it wasn't right for the market, and so they just shelved it.
Hmm.
And then there was like a long court process for them to get the rights back to their album. But the it kind of is disappointing with anything with the Oscars, with the Michelin Guide. It's all pay for play. Like it
Yeah.
whether it's direct or indirect varies on the organization running it, but to some degree it all is, because like I said, those names, those awards only have weight behind them because of the people who say they have weight behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, it was eye-opening when we found out all the investment that went into it to get them here. Um, but not surprising. And, I just, when I look at, I'll give you I mean, my Michelin, like, box. Okay, my Michelin box is gonna be Bliss, Biga, Bistro 9, um, and then you have just like Clementine, you have, you know, Chef Johnny, you've got Chef Jason, uh, and then it just goes on and on and on. Those are just off the top of my head. Those are like my like date nights,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, and so yeah, there's a lot of people that are very deserving that didn't get it. But the way I think of it is that that's just like this past year was like an appetizer, right? It's gonna open your palate and get you ready for, the next
I mean,
course, right? So
it's
it's
gonna
just a
come down
progression.
to who wants to compete for it.
Oh, probably, maybe. But I do know that there's a lot of very fantastic chefs in this town, and so I hope we see those chefs uh get some recognition. Now, uh I want to get into this.
A chat, conversation while listening to y'all, but having a conversation with my friend Chad here.
Chat GPT.
Uh, while the exact methodology is kept secret by Michelin, um, it does say that Michelin stars are awarded based on food quality alone.
I see.
Very interesting.
Interesting. Well,
So
I mean,
Very interesting.
I would imagine if you asked it about the Oscars, they would tell you it's the quality of the film alone, too.
in acting, yeah. So y'all, I wanna jump into this because this is on everyone's mind right now. I think it affects
Okay.
the consumer, it affects business owners, it affects everyone.
Family meal.
Our family meal, yes. These San Antonio restaurants raise prices to offset high egg costs. That is, so we're talking about brunch, right? So let's tie it into
Yeah.
brunch. Like brunch, like just went up, right? I mean, but places are
But yes,
raising
but
prices,
yes, it did. It did.
eggs are
It did.
costing more,
They are.
and so this is a reality for consumers at the grocery stores,
It is.
right? The supply chain, which the supply chain not only affects distributors that are consumer facing, like HEB, they also affect distributors like US Foods, you know,
It's also
others.
interesting because I just don't know enough about it, but it's also interesting that like you would imagine as wholesale buyers we would get eggs at a better price, but we don't. That's why Costco and Sam's and like there have been lots of retailers that have been putting a limit on the quantity. It's not necessarily because consumers are buying more of it, like regular consumers. It's because restaurants are going to these places to buy them because they can't get it from their suppliers for like and that does it throws off your I mean, if an egg is usually
Higher
25
demand,
cents per
less supply.
now, actually I don't know, but I think let's call it like 25 cents per. Now it's s- what I like last time, I don't want to say, but like consensus why it's like 75, 80, 75 cents and 95 cents.
Mm, yeah,
But for big liners right now it's like what 95 cents per.
yeah.
So
You know,
that does
eggs are just such a huge part of everyone's diet. It's a like everyone eats eggs. Most people eat eggs, and prices right now are high. Now, a huge portion like of the I guess you could say the egg laying flock were culled. I think it was 130 million hens were killed because of bird flu.
Yeah.
But they're birds, so I mean, I'm like,
but how
so
does that actually what I don't what
so
does it
it's like
actually mean for humans? Is there a transmission situation with the
So
eggs
there's
or
a
what?
claim that it is, but
it
I mean,
it is transitioned to humans in isolated events a handful of times so far.
What's that
The
percentage?
well, so far it's still very small, but the problem is that
it's a fraction of 1%.
but the
I'm
problem with
scared.
flu viruses is
Yeah.
that it mutates very quickly,
Sure.
which is why like the flu vaccine is different every single year because there's a huge conference and they look at global strains and
Mm.
see which ones are the most prominent, and that's the vaccine that they choose to uh give out every flu season, right? Um, I think without getting too deep into the politics of all of it, a
Mhm.
big problem we have in the United States is that um we have these huge corporations that live on subsidies from the government, but also like muscle out anything smaller than that. So your small like healthier farms are more expensive, and you have these huge like factory farms where all of the like vegan propaganda
Somebody a
videos
long
come
time
from.
ago lobbied their way to the top, and they
Yes.
now have a branch of the
So
government that subsidizes
well
all this
so
stuff.
so the problem is these companies are like too big to fail, right? So
Mm.
their subsidies increase when their yields are down or they just get bailed out financially. It's kind of how Tyson is like overtaking chicken farms all over the country. And so for them, like it doesn't really matter if the price of eggs comes up because they own like 70+% of the egg market in the United States. Then they're too big to fail. And so they're
Is
going to
too big to
survive.
fail? Like, maybe I'm totally
I
tangenting because of my brain, but what
Too
does
big
too
to
big to fail
fail.
actually mean? Is there any?
Look at 2008. Banks that were too big to fail
Yeah.
were just thank you.
Thank you,
Banks that
Optimus
were
Prime.
too big to fail were just bailed out by the Federal Reserve anyways. And because if they were not, it would have been a depression greater than the Great
Right.
Depression.
Airlines post 2001,
Yeah,
9/11.
it's kind of this growing trend. So what you see here is like big farms not wanting to report on bird flu epidemics in their farms because it doesn't really matter to them anyways. They're going to keep selling their eggs until they literally have to kill all the chickens. And
Yeah.
it's still not going to matter to them. So then your supply chains are messed up because we're having to import more eggs from Canada or from Mexico or I mean in some cases like from Alaska and where they get theirs from Canada as well. So the
We
price of
really
eggs
have to
import
slaughter all of these chickens.
Well, I mean, once they have bird flu, one, they're gonna die anyways, and if you don't kill them before they spread it to more birds,
Can't we
like
give them a vaccine or something?
I mean, but at the same time, you have like so many people who are upset that we're vaccinating our animals, and it like the effects that we get from our animals being vaccinated.
Yeah. Kristina, I don't have time to be editing this like that, okay? But well, I mean, yeah, you're right. These companies are too big to fail, and they have cornered the market, and so, um, but what about those that, the people that, like, if you have a chicken or a couple hens and they produce 3 eggs a day, 6 eggs a day. I mean, eggs have become a commodity like overnight. And it's just fascinating that there's a fixation
I
on
think overnight is
protein.
a
A little exaggerated, but it is. I mean, can you imagine a world where like you have hens and it's like the golden hen. They're laying these little pods of protein that we need for sustenance, and then when we don't have it,
I
and
believe there's an idiom that was coined like 100 plus years ago, and it's literally the golden goose. And why is it the golden goose? Because it keeps laying golden eggs.
yeah,
Like this is not a new concept. This has been around for a long time.
absolutely,
They like the problem I was highlighting with those big corporations is not really that they are so big, it's that they drown out small ones.
right.
Like the the bigger problems, same with like the kind of everywhere losing
Big,
their personality I was talking about earlier, is the corporatization of everything sucks the soul out of everything.
yeah,
And it creates this barrier, excuse me, this barrier of entry that is almost impossible for people to break into. Like you see this trend over the last 20 years of local farms getting big enough, and then Tyson will come in and buy the farm, and they're like, "Well, we'll give you all this new equipment to help with your scaling problem." But then like actually you owe us 70% of all your profit because we provided the equipment. It is very similar to like when governments extend foreign aid projects like China's Belt and Road Initiative, or a lot of what USAID was doing. It like that's kind of the whole premise of big countries subsidizing smaller countries. Like, we're going to help you build infrastructure, but actually until you pay off this infrastructure, we get about 40% of your economic growth.
absolutely,
And
yeah,
that's what big farms like Tyson and a handful of others have been doing in the United States. So, like especially like Texas, we're in the belly of the breadbasket of America here, going up through the belt states, and like the wealth of this area of America came from locally owned farms who just like got as big as they could, produced as much as they could. They fed America. They started feeding our allies, and like larger corporations have come in and just slowly bought up these plots of farm,
mm-hmm.
and like then they can afford to drop prices down. So the local farmers whose families have been here for
Right.
80 to 180 years can't afford to compete in the market anymore.
The unit
So
of economics of production.
yes, there's economy to scale,
Yep.
right? So then what happens is 90% of American farms are owned by these huge corporations who have just squeezed everyone else out and made it like super hard. Like right now you can go up to hill country and buy like 12 acres for like 60 grand. Go start your farm there, but like the minute you start becoming successful, someone is going to squeeze you out. And then the problem is now bird flu is an
It's the
issue.
butterfly effect.
Yes.
It impacts
Um
everything. And
mhm.
like when you hear about the butterfly effect or you watch a movie, it simplifies it so much so you can understand like what it means. But until you actually kind of start experiencing things, it is the butterfly effect, because what you're saying is farmers are artists too, and they wanted to put out a product, which was whatever they're farming. And they also have standards to meet according to the Oscars or the James Beards and the whatever. And I mean, there are also like every single industry is a form of art in one way or another, and they have their challenges, and everybody's changing because we have to. We're progressing in society, and or not society, but just in the in existence.
Well,
It's
so
the age of it's the age
the
of
problem
Aquarius.
the problem with this kind of spread of corporations is now like 90% of the egg supply goes through two or three huge farming companies, right? So
Monopoly. That's why that was
yes,
a anti-monopoly to
antitrust
prevent.
laws,
Right.
but the corporatization of everything has made it so those things can kind of be skirted. I mean, like
It's like
we do this on a small
we
level
need
all the time, and
regulation.
this is like a lot of these laws that are meant to help small business owners. Like I'm sure Dashi and Sichuan House are in their own LLCs and they're owned by a parent corporation, and that's the only way that you can protect yourselves as small business owners from like if something catastrophic happens at one of them, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't separated that way, so like those laws were intentionally written for small business owners. But what happens when hedge funds do the same thing? Now they can buy up every building on the street, put them all under different LLCs, and they could literally have segregation at one of them. And then when they lose a lawsuit, there's well, that's a different
It's like
company.
when
We have
we like
nothing
make
to
up
do
a
with
rule
that.
here to
Yeah.
help us like combat some things, and then it creates more problems.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the whole idea.
Macro, micro.
Historically, that's where the position of middle management came from,
Mhm.
is because you had like large capitalists who were running huge monopolies of companies, and you know, workers would rise up over wage policies or like the amount of hours they had to work every week. And so what's the solution there? Because all, you know, you have like 10,000 people banging on my office door every day being like, this is messed up. So what do? Say, hey, you come here. I'll give you 50 extra bucks a week. And they knock on your door instead
Right.
of my door, right? And then he's like, I can't handle all the people knocking on my door. And he's like, well, hire two other people and let them knock on their door. And that's where this whole idea of a corporatocracy comes from. Like, there's still a CEO on top, but then right under that, you've got this C-level suite of other people who have to deal with shit before it gets to them, and it so on and so forth. And it, like I said earlier, the corporatocracy of everything just sucks the soul out of it. It takes the personality out of everything. It makes every fix and flip house look the same. It makes every mom and pop bar and restaurant in the area have the same menu or the same like like this is insane. Working in a bar and like bars having to keep up with like TikTok trends is so stupid. Like every bar now, even if you are a dive bar that, you know, barely pulls like 30K a month in revenue, I guarantee you still have an espresso martini because of TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And like no one no one just has their own personality anymore. Like a a a cheap espresso martini blew up on TikTok and now every bar has to have it. And if
Yep.
you man, when I started bartending, especially here, people would come in and be like, "Can you make this?" And you could just be like, "Fuck no." Like, are you kidding? Like, I
I
don't have
love that answer though. I love that answer. No, but we have this. You know, I don't have that.
yeah,
I
but
mean, like you don't have to fit into
well,
every social media or Instagrammable,
Going back to
TikTokable
what
phase.
when you decide to make your passion your profession, you have a lot of decisions to make,
well, and
because you
you
can't like you can't focus purely, like let's say you exist in, if you're an artist, the theoretical perfect world is where you only have to focus on your art, and that is only what you have to focus on. That means all of your management is done for you, all the decisions are made, and you just have to focus on your art.
Mhm.
But when you have made your art your profession, you have to make so many more
You
decisions
have to cater.
for
Yeah.
sustenance,
That
or
I mean, but
what's the word?
but that's
Sustainability.
that's
Ah,
that's true of
can't stand that word.
It's
s-
11:11.
no,
Sustainability.
11:11.
It's 11:11.
sustainability is one of my least favorite words ever.
Me too. Oh my gosh.
So
It's in everything. I'm
so
like, it
especially
doesn't mean anything
well,
unless you have like my perspective of sustainability is very different than someone else's. But like the parlance, like the way it's used to like influence me from, like
everything.
everything is actually an unsustainable way to use it because
Yes.
it's completely devoid of the logistics of a small business and being
18 things
sustainable.
you can do to improve your business's sustainability.
Oh, well, like Florida Caña had the sustainable cocktail event down in Nicaragua, and I would actually like to go to that to see what a sustainable cocktail actually looks like. What is the what does that mean, sustainable? Because Florida Caña is all about sustainability, and I'm not focusing just on them, but they just had this event, and so sustainability of a small business or a bar program may not meet the like square box of sustainable from corporate America.
You know what? This actually I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's not the same word, but the same thing to me is efficiency. The
Efficient.
myth of efficiency. Like there are definitely ways to streamline things and make doing a specific thing more efficient, right? But efficiency is sold like look look at freaking Musk and Doge. Government efficiency, cutting
Right.
out waste. Efficiency is such a myth. Like being more efficient
Have
is
you ever
like
had a Chinese person on your team?
no, hold on, hear me out.
That's
Efficiency is a myth that forgets like efficiency is really great at doing one thing at a time. Like you know what? You can be more efficient at brushing your teeth and cleaning your ears because you can do it at the same time. Right? You just man, that was way more efficient time in front of the mirror before you go to bed at night.
like
You could figure that shit out.
actually
It's
this
like
works.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
works actually.
Right? See, okay. But
Another one? And then
Yeah.
going
but sure.
We've got 15 minutes max.
Um
Yeah, let's just get another.
but like
I'm enjoying the
this
conversation.
this this whole idea that like how many apps or AI tools or like you need to talk to this CPA and make your business more efficient or everything. This is in my opinion the root problem in like sucking the soul out of everything because like you can turn your business into a cookie cutter step by step some business guru taught you how to do this, which I'll get back to you. Like, and you can copy and paste someone else's business to yours,
Right.
but you're also losing your soul. You're losing your personality, your
So
little slice of how your individualistic take, your artistic freedom on your business is gone because you just copied and pasted someone else's business model.
so I could use artificial intelligence to enhance my online marketing efficiency, right? To gain customers. But what that doesn't do,
I didn't want to ruin
Christina,
my.
what that does not do, like, okay, so it's efficient because I don't have to do it myself and it's automated. But what about the customer that walks in the door and then I touch that table? And then that, because of that conversation that I had, because I took time
Thank
out
you.
of, because I took my personal time to go over there and have the conversation. In fact, that customer is more likely to be a repeat customer
Yes.
more than an AI algorithm that improves my efficiency in my marketing campaign
Yes.
to get them in the door or to get them to come back. And so, you know what? I've got like maybe 85, maybe 90 if I'm lucky, 80, maybe 75 to 90 years on this earth. And one of the things that I find as an inherent truth is that if you want to build a relationship, or if you want to have like a connection with someone, you have to give them your time. Okay? Time is
Yes.
everything. And so in this business, this is a business of relationships. This is a business of connecting with people. So if I don't give them my personal time, I don't care about AI algorithms. Okay? I care about actually touching the table or being there with my team, right?
Well, that's the thing. Efficiency is only good when there is one singular goal. You can get from A to B more efficiently every single time. There's always a way you could play the video game level faster. Like you could cook a certain ingredient more efficiently by setting everything out beforehand, right?
Right.
You Efficiency only has one goal in mind. When your end goal is only one thing, you can definitely be more efficient. If your end goal is to have more money, you can figure out how to have more money. But everything else is going to be sacrificed in that process. You can't have more money and also the best customer service. You're going to have to get someone to answer the phones for you. And that person is like, in my own business, I have noticed this. Like, you have your business and you care about it so much, and everything should be done the way you want it to be done, right? But at some point you're going to have someone help you with something. And every time you ask someone to help you with something, you're giving up 3% control. You can give them scripts, you can give
Control.
them
Yep. And it costs money.
and efficiency.
Yep.
Like, because how to table touch every single table in here. It's your restaurant. You know the menu, you know the drinks, you know the layout, you know everything about this business. So you can handle every single customer inquiry or problem here the most efficiently. But you don't have time to do all that. So you have to give up 3% to every employee that you have in here. And they're not going to do it the way you're going to do it, but you just have to accept that that's the cost of your business being more successful,
Yeah.
not more efficient. You lose efficiency the bigger you get. The idea that you can have a business that is 100% efficient or a government that's 100% efficient, like the only way you could do that is to have robots who do exactly what you say and exactly what you do, which like the entire idea there is just like conformity and like lack of personal freedom. And it's like you said, the lie of the AI assistant. Like, it's never going to just do exactly as you would do.
Right.
You are giving up efficiency. But the way we're marketed things, efficiency and sustainability. Like, make your calendar more efficient.
Hmm.
To do that, you're giving up control of your calendar, which like may or may
You don't
not.
want efficiency though. If you're
Well,
happy with how things are, you don't
like I
have to be
said,
more efficient.
efficient, you can be efficient from A to B.
Mhm.
Efficiency works with one goal in mind. So what is your one goal? If you have more than one thing you're trying to do, you could like make your ticket times more efficient. You could train your servers to like take orders more efficiently, but that like if they have a blueprint of how they take orders, tables are going to suffer. It's going to be
Well, I
worse
think
customer
that's where
service.
Yeah.
company culture has a really, really big impact, and it's dealing like the managing of people. That's what
Is
goes
cult like
back to the well, businesses and growth. The most difficult component is the management of people. You're commanding an army. You're a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're a leader. These people have decided, whoever it is, they've decided to follow you because it's a mutual relationship until it's not.
right.
It's a mutually beneficial relationship till it's not
Right.
in some ways. I mean, we hope to build families, and like this is like the family that we choose other than our own families, and our families might be great. There's nothing wrong with our families. I'm just saying that we actively choose these people to be a part of our family.
So culture, right? I think in some ways you could say culture is inefficient, but culture is persistent.
It's needed
It
though.
persists into the future, and efficiency I think, dies at some point because you're going to get a rebellion against
Oh
it.
my God. Yes.
You're going to get a rebellion against it, and
It'd be
then
unhelpful.
because we, for whatever reason, are like our human nature, right, has this creative, inherent, untapped capital that only manifests itself in experiential form. Like we have to be cognizant, we have to be like mobile, bipedal, and doing things, and all of a sudden it's just like creativity just like comes out, like great ideas and inventions and beautiful plates of food and things that are
Like
like,
pressure applied at the right time in the right place by the right people.
Well,
and
it's
it's not
also,
efficient.
well,
It's not
no, it's
efficient.
not. It also, like, a big part of that is you said commanding an army, and like that's what people management is, right? But almost every study ever done shows that people are more productive when they feel like they have more agency. People are more enthusiastic to go to work and do a good job when they feel like their time is valued, right? It's an antithesis to the idea of efficiency because people have to motivate themselves. You can inspire people, you can dangle a carrot or stick or reward people, but at the bottom of it, people have to inspire themselves, right?
Thank you.
And
I
so
love hearing that.
so people like to go to work for people who appreciate their time there. People like to go out to eat at restaurants who remember their faces, remember what they order, right? That's it. That's how you get regulars. Like you walk in, oh, you're gonna have the same thing again this week. You got your usual, right? This is kind of an old school and broader historical example, but I think of this all the time, and it's the Middle East. Constant war since the fall of the Ottoman Empire. And like there's a lot of reasons why that is, but in my head one thing sticks out a ton. And it's when the Ottoman Empire was reigning over the area, they did not recognize the coalition of any sort of city states, but they did encourage people to flock together under their like ways of life, their culture. Like there were several strongholds of individual culturalistic segments. They just were not allowed to form their own city states so as not to question the power of the Ottoman Empire, right? Then England does what they do in India, and France, like colonization is everywhere, and the Ottoman Empire breaks up. The people who draw the maps for what was then the Middle East and sort of now the modern Middle East, because it's changed a few times since then, were a couple dudes in Europe. And they drew those lines based on economic output and not cultural division. And so, like, you just had whole communities being divided up, and like, you're from
Iraq
this.
wasn't even a name of like it's just a made up name.
Yeah, it was named after someone.
Yeah, it wasn't
And
even like a, it's not even a region or anything. It's just like made up.
well, and so all of these like regimes coming out of there have been like the remnants of the cultural strongholds that they were allowed to form peacefully that just got broken up into different regimes. And it just so happened that they were sitting on top of all these natural resources that like now they have economic control over, and it's been nonstop war ever since.
Yeah.
A smarter way would have been to go in and be like, holy cow, y'all naturally group together. Y'all naturally group together. Like, let's include you in this process of dividing up the land.
Yeah.
But it wasn't efficient.
And I hope that there was an altruistic, or like I guess at that point it was an ignorant um blunder. It was a blunder. Or it was intentional for the propagation of war.
Could be either way. But my point is when it comes to managing people, there isn't really a real efficient way to do it because people have to decide they're going to do what they want to do, right? Like you could have the next Gordon Ramsay in your kitchen, but if he just hates the way the kitchen is run, maybe that sucks because you already have your thing going on, but like he's never going to be the next Gordon Ramsay if he hates your kitchen, right?
You wouldn't work here if he hates my kitchen.
Okay. So that no, this is exactly my point. He has to decide that he's going to be a good worker here.
Right.
There is no way to hire him and just be like, this is how our kitchen works, and you're gonna do it. And then he's gonna be like, you're right. What was I thinking all of this time? The like managing people is really hard because there's no you can't cater to everybody and like everyone has to be on board with your vision. But what this idea of corporatocracy does, or like these business gurus who are like, copy my business
So I'm gonna
exactly.
interrupt that for a minute. So this is what I guess that's a differentiating component, right? Gordon Ramsay can do what he does because he is chef.
Hmm.
If I choose to open up a restaurant, that is because I have a certain amount of skill set, a certain degree of understanding of how this kitchen works. So I'm going to put my money to invest in that operations.
Hmm.
I would not like, I would not just say, oh, I don't know what a good example is, but I would not just like, no. Does that make sense though?
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, is this still because I
oh, no, not
said
nothing to
that
do with
Gordon
Gordon.
Ramsay might not be that good of a
Ramsay.
chef?
No, it's
Okay.
not that.
I
It's not
mean,
that. But
have
I'm
you
referring to
seen,
like
was it Kitchen?
Nightmare.
Kitchen? Oh God,
It has nothing to do with Gordon Ramsay,
he's
but it's
such
just
an angel.
so what I think about all the time, and I don't necessarily want this to be I'm enjoying our conversation and I know you have a certain amount of time left
Yeah,
and but
we're about to wrap it up.
okay. But I this is an
Go.
interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
Um,
not impeding you.
but we talk about it where like I have the image of chef. I can cook. I can cook really good food,
Mm,
but I don't do like I'm not what is making the magic behind the kitchen
yeah.
necessarily. But I'm very, very fortunate and very grateful to have found a partner in Chef Lee where our ideologies in what we agree upon the art, maybe it's like the musician and the producer kind of
Mhm.
relationship, where we're going to work together to make this happen. Um, but that's very different from someone like, let's say, Chef Jason Davey or Chef Nicola,
Mhm.
where they command and own every single recipe and every production item. They are the expert matter in the production of their specific dish. And if someone were to come in their kitchen and say something otherwise, they would just say, well, fuck you, get out. I
Mhm.
can run this. Versus to your point, like if I'm just like some no experience operator coming in, well, of course, I can't run that line. Right. So there's a there I don't know how to like um yeah, otherwise explain that, but just like it's different. And so then when you have you're operating a business, because now it's not just like you you also have an entire commanding an army, but you're feeding the army too. You're responsible. They have trusted their livelihood on you,
Well, that's kind of
and vice versa.
my whole point in there, in the first place, is like y'all have preserved your personality and your vision here very well, and you've done that by bringing in people who you partner with, whether that be your kitchen staff or your
Your
cook chef,
bartender,
or
same thing,
yeah,
right?
no,
They're the ones
I
creating behind the bar.
yeah, and y'all give them a lot of freedom to do what they do because
Hmm.
they're better at what they do than you are. And that's kind of the whole partnership thing. But that is also it is giving control of your company away,
Hmm.
and finding people you trust to give that control away to, which is always really hard when you have a vision of whether it be an art or a business or what you want to eat for dinner. But like compromise always comes with sacrificing some of your control
Hmm.
to it. um the idea of efficiency is like, how do I get from A to B the quickest? And a lot of that just kind of it's this idea of being a sole proprietor of the entire company, and like everyone is just there to serve you, and like you already know that like A times B will equal C at some point. So it's just a matter of like making sure your A and B are the correct variables, right? Again, it's taking the soul out of like it's why you don't see mom and pop shops. Like
Well, it's
As a
it's
sole proprietor,
it's a
I'm here to serve everyone else.
factor though.
That's
You know, as a
that.
sole proprietor, you do have control, but
That was your
it
dream.
is,
What was
it's
your
like,
dream?
it's
Your
like,
dream to make art?
it's like jumping on a freaking, it's like, all right, you know what? I need a horse.
Mhm.
Okay, because I love riding horses. And I'm gonna find a horse and I'm gonna train it. So I'm gonna get in the ring with it and I'm gonna tame it, right? And that process of taming that horse is the process of taming your business. And
But
yes,
people aren't horses.
they're not, but it's a metaphor, it's an analogy of like actually like the business, like getting a business in the service industry and you have no control, in fact, and everyone relies on you. Even after the horse is tamed, it relies on you, even though you'll have a symmetry in who you both are
Everything's
now,
constantly changing.
right?
So what
You've
worked like
tamed
5 years
yourself,
ago
Mm.
doesn't work now.
because in you riding that untamed horse, you've learned a lot, and then that horse has learned a lot, and then you have stasis,
And then
right?
that
Then
horse
you have
got rid.
understanding.
Sorry.
But no, it's kind of the idea.
It's true.
It's kind of the idea of
Mm.
like there used to be a huge difference between uh chain restaurants and local restaurants. But as this idea of like the reason franchises are successful and you're not is because they do things this way, right? And this is where a lot of those like self-help guru business type people have come in and they're like, well, like
Anybody can own a restaurant.
anyone can.
I mean that's
Well,
to your
and
point.
this
Like
is
the self-help
so
guru.
back when I used to work in real estate investing, a business mentor I had told me this, and like I thought it was genius at the time, but now on where I'm at in life now, I feel like this is the reason everything is shitty. It's the reason for the enshittification, which is
Mhm.
now an actual word in the Webster
Mhm.
dictionary,
Mhm.
which is
And
great.
shitification.
And shittification. It is part of a business model. It is where you like you lost lead a bunch up front of really good things, and then you roll out a prescription model, and like most of the features that people really enjoyed are now part of the subscription. The free shit is just stuff that you could get anywhere. But the stuff that people really liked are now part of the subscription. So when you update, instead of adding more and starting a subscription there, your first round of subscription is just the stuff people liked.
Mm-hmm.
So then you add more, and then that's your next tier of subscription. Like this is the base model, but then, right? It's just it like starts with a good thing and it and shitifies it until all that's left is profit,
Mm-hmm.
and no one even cares about it anyways, and then they just sell the company and move on to another one. It is like hedge fund 101. That is how you just like rape an industry.
Hmm.
But so when my mentor at the time told me this, I thought it was genius, but he was like, why is it that a 45-year-old burnout in Seattle and a 13-year-old in New Zealand can both make a Big Mac perfectly every single time? It's because if you work at McDonald's, everything is step by step, like literally getting the bun out of the bag to a finished Big Mac. There is on the wall, like, this is how you do it.
Logistics.
But the more logistical you get about everything, the less soul anything has. Which is like y'all can have your dishes here and they're unique to here, even if they're like stemming back from like traditional Chinese dishes. This is still it's still Dashi's food, it's Sichuan house food. Like it is unique to what you guys do here and the chefs you bring in and the way you present everything, right? If you franchise this, the person who was managing your franchisement would tell you first and foremost, everything on the menu has to be broken down into a step by step. This is how it's done.
Yep.
There's no character at any of the stores. Everything has to be dashi.
We experienced something like that.
It's okay, except for that it sucks the soul out of everything. The part of the reason this
Many things will suck the soul out of things. I will argue with that.
That's
I mean,
true.
I'm saying that like even the grind of things of just going through, you put your heart and soul into it and you're grinding and you're putting your like, a lot of times we operate at a negative. We're having to put in other resources from other endeavors to
Especially over the past couple of years.
put you here,
You
right?
know.
And so
These years
if
have not been
backing out of the
great
like
for restaurants.
That well,
like maybe it may right like
the what we talked about earlier with too big to fail and kind of the barrier for entry for everything,
mhm.
it kind of falls back into that because
What
there it's harder to maintain yourselves as a small business
I'll say
than it's ever
this,
been.
this has been a like a fascinating phenomenon. All right, I'm gonna alliterate here. The fascinating phenomenon has been the failure
Oh my God.
of franchised brands. Fascinating phenomenon, failure of franchise brands. Was that good?
Yeah.
I couldn't go beyond franchise.
I
No, I
saw
got
you
more.
trying.
I got
It
more.
was good.
Um, and so you're seeing
Are you fumbling?
massive. What's that?
Fumbling?
I'm fumbling to find the fascinating facets of failing franchise brands.
Huh?
Thank you, Christina.
Damn.
Okay. Um, my point is that you are actually seeing the massive downsizing of franchises as there has been a contraction in
Right.
consumer spending and consumer sentiment over the past 4 years. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up that our conversation has been great and my itinerary doesn't matter, but one of them is the National Restaurant Association and their outlook for 2025. And they say this is going to be the best year in a long time in terms of consumer spending, consumer sentiment. And we're actually, at Dashi, Dashi's kind of a bellwether within this neighborhood, not the best location, fantastic food, fantastic offering, consistent consumer base.
Fantastic neighborhood.
And so what we're
To be
seeing,
fair though, what you guys have done here is nothing short of almost miraculous because before you moved in here, in the 2 years before that, it was like 6 different restaurants come and gone in 2 years. Like the fact that you guys have stayed here this long is a real testament to what you're doing here. Because I mean, I worked over there and then over there for the 5 years previous, and this place was seriously
We
almost
literally
five
have
or
people
six
come in
places.
here and they're just like, we live in the neighborhood. But we've never come in because places just like
The
haven't
but people are
the
coming
place
in.
before
People
you
are
was
coming in.
open for like four
oh
months
gosh.
before it closed.
And so I guess the bigger point is that we've been able to sustain and um and there's those bigger places, the corporatization of things, they scale and they scale and they scale. But now there's a massive contraction happening. And what's happening is so they're contracting, but we're still here. So we've ridden the wave, and it was a torrential wave. But now we're looking into the future, and the National Restaurant Association is saying that the future, at least for this year, is bright. And I'm very thankful for that, because like you said, I guess it's miraculous that we're even still here, but we are here and I don't want to go away, and I want the consumers to
So click on the subscribe button below.
I want people to go out and I want people to be happy. I want to see families. I want to see people and I want them to think that life is good,
Life is good.
and I don't want them to be afraid, and I want them to be able to pay their bills. And I want our community to be thriving. At the core of everything that I do, it's a part of that. We are a bellwether.
I do know that you guys pay people here better than most places pay people, which is a testament to what you're saying. Like you are truly here for your community and to build something great, which is amazing. I will also say too that I think a lot of the sentiment that is being predicted right there is people are really sick of being categorized by things, and so they're going to embrace smaller, like everyone. Social media has gotten too out of hand. You are always a hashtag something. Like interpersonal connectivity is at an all-time low. Like it's hard to go out to a bar and meet someone. It's hard to make friends anywhere. Like look at anywhere's like local Facebook or Twitter or Reddit pages, and like at least 4 or 5 times a day it's like, how do you make friends in this city? Like people don't know how to interact anymore because everything is just online. And so the more places focus on community building and um, personal experiences, I think that franchises and chains are going to suffer because it's just meaningless. Like
Yeah.
you're not a part of anything special anymore because it's just a broad scheme of like you are like people are starting to feel that they're a number on a spreadsheet. They're not like no one at Gap is gonna recognize you by name. You know what I mean? No one at Chili's is gonna give a shit that you're there for the third time this week. Like to get food that came out of a humidity drawer that is the same that they
Oh,
use
I
at
know.
McDonald's. Like,
Yeah, that's that
like
is soulless.
it is well, and it's those same companies that are trying to like mid-sized businesses are like, well, we could scale if we do what these companies do. And it's like that's I don't know. I don't know anyone who personally goes to like Chili's or Olive Garden or anywhere like that anymore.
I know some
Well,
people
that's
go to
your
Applebee's, but Applebee's has insane happy hours. The one
I
over
also
at
I
what
also
is it?
think Applebee's just embraced the fact that their food comes out of a freezer and they're just like,
also like in hospitality, and so maybe that's different. Like our circle of people is
Yeah.
different.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean, I'd say the same thing. I
You
know
know,
people that go to Applebee's, but they
Chili's,
go there because
sorry to
it's
sound,
cheap and
they
yeah,
at once
it's like
upon a
$2
time, they
margaritas.
were a maybe a mom and pop shop.
Sure,
like
sure.
Chili's did start in Texas and it
Yeah.
literally was like a chili cook-off.
Yeah.
And but I will say Chili's is
Do they sell out?
it was the first serving job I ever had in
I actually did
2008.
Chili's was
It
pretty
was fine.
good.
I just haven't
Yeah.
gone
I
in a
was
while.
there. I was there when they
It's
put
not
in.
still good now. I haven't been in a while.
I was there when they put the humidity drawers in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like super new wave technology. Like your screens in the kitchen would be like, you should drop 19 chicken tenders right now because historically during this time of the day on this day last year,
Wow.
you know,
So
the
they
same
had
metrics.
their
This was in like 2008, I want to say.
statistics down.
Called
Wow.
it the kitchen of the future. But it was
Mm-hmm.
just it was basically like it's the same thing LLMs do now.
Hold on. Wait. I gotta call a timeout. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back.
I
No.
want my baby
Mm-hmm.
back, baby back,
Mm-hmm.
baby back. I want my baby back, baby back.
What didn't you just create a track? Wait.
Please, baby back ribs, barbecue sauce.
Oh.
What didn't you just create a track where like someone just started like riffing and then everyone else just chimes in, right? And everyone else is like, so it's like boom. Ch.
Oh, you were trying to start one?
Yeah, I was trying to start one. I was trying to start it like
Your
a
intentions were unclear.
Okay. Well, this has been a great podcast. It's been fascinating. Tyler, I always have the most interesting conversations with you, and you have such a depth of knowledge that the conversations just kind of go everywhere. And
Somehow we got in the Ottoman Empire.
I know. I loved it. I loved it. And but that is like industry pop. And I knew you would be a fascinating guest. So I've tried to get you on for the past couple months. And you're doing really big things. And I'm fascinated by you. You're a really awesome guy. You know, thank you for coming on. I would like, to do this again. We should have part two. We should have
Always
part two.
down.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now,
I love to hear myself talk.
well, we've got like 2 hours of it.
Yes.
Well, closing comments, Christina?
It was Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Tyler, closing comments. Where can they find the album?
The album is everywhere. It's Good for Nothing by God's Only Villain. I'm currently working on a project with a rapper named David, who is phenomenal. I know he's got a song we just put up with Royce da 5'9". You can find it on Spotify or Apple or wherever. It's called Options. Yeah, I don't know. My studio is called Red Cap Studios, which I feel weird about now politically. It's not a political name. You've known me long enough. I have a red beanie that I've been wearing for like 12 years. And so the studio is called Red Cap Studios. But now like it's in the last year, I've told several people like, "Oh yeah, you know, I run Red Cap Studios," and they're like, "Oh, so what kind of music do you make?" And I'm just like, "No, man. This predates when red hats were political." But
Yeah.
yeah, no, someone left a red beanie at my apartment in like 2011, and it's the only beanie I ever wear. So just like someone literally made me a t-shirt a few years ago with a red beanie on it, just because I always wear this red beanie. But
That should be the teaser. Like, someone left a red beanie at my apartment years ago.
I actually
Like, that should be the teaser.
did I show you guys the logo of it yet? It's cute.
Let's check out the logo. We've got a logo here.
I'll send it to you so you can like put it up on the
Yeah,
screen
we'll
at
put it
some
up.
point.
We'll fix it in post.
Like, put imagery through some of our conversations.
Oh yeah, I can do that in post, guys. I can do that in post. But I don't have a lot of time to do it in post because
Are you running out of memory?
we're moving so fast. It's still recording. Now, I love that.
It's Aelin, my dog.
Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. We're bringing things back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us at Industry P-S-A, where we talk about all things pop culture, all things popping off in San Antonio, hospitality, restaurant, bar, industry. And I am Sichuan Papí, here with my co-host
Kristina.
and our special guest,
Tyler.
Thank you so much. We're going to see you next week or in the near future. Oh, wait. Sichuan Puppy is still here. Sichuan Puppy. You'll see Sichuan Puppy next week. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you again. Tune in to Industry P-S-A with us. We'll see you next week.